The internet is a vast and ever-expanding place where you can find almost anything. Almost anything you want to find can be found, from the innocent, to the weird, to the explicit, and the morbid. All of these are just a click away from our fingertip to our mouse. As someone who's grown up using the internet, I've always had a morbid curiosity, often finding myself coming across various forms of shock content, either by accident or on purpose. I've personally seen a lot over the years, but I won't bore you with listening about it. While the clear web holds what feels like a universal size of web pages and videos, it also holds a lot of games that are out there that you can either play on your browser or for you to download and play with a click of a button. One could say the clear web is massive. It most certainly is, but it's nothing compared to the unlisted side of the internet. The deep web and dark web are vast and different compared to the clear web. The deep web is often used to store private information such as passwords, banking information, medical databases, as well as government databases. If you've ever logged onto a school database or worked in some kind of job that requires you to look at passwords or stored information, you've technically been on the deep web. The dark web, on the other hand, is vastly different. While some use it for just general anonymous browsing and others use it for whistleblowing or activism without the threat of being apprehended by a corrupt government, it's mostly known for its more malicious purposes. We often associate the dark web with cybercriminals, hackers, drug dealers, arms dealers, snuff films, and unfortunately, the dark web is the no man's land of the digital realm, and it's not to be taken lightly. Now, when we put the word game at the end of dark web, we often either think of creepypasta videos that claim to have bought a cursed game off the dark web, and now they're cursed for life, or they're being tracked down. Or, more sinisterly, we think of the game Sad Satan. Unlike the creepypastas, Sad Satan was a real dark web horror game. Many of those who played it documented how it was mainly a walking simulator with flashing images of known predators on the screen every so often. They also documented being flashed images of gore, including truck accidents, farm equipment accidents, as well as beheadings.
We go this way. Took these big subwoofers on the side now too. That's really fucking weird. Fuck. Alright, now. Alright. That was an image of a person who lost their fucking head.
But the other thing that was also mentioned being included was, unfortunately, voyeurism shit. I would most definitely not recommend searching for this game to play it, as you'll only ruin your mental state from the graphic imagery, your computer from the tons of malware the game supposedly contained, and your life given what the game has on it. The police would more than likely kick your door down. Now, if you're a long-time viewer of my channel, then you would know one of my series on the game, Death Forest. And as you know, I had to quit that series and wipe my whole PC because I didn't realize the site that was hosting the download to the game was also hosting Sad Satan on the clear web. It was entirely possible that this version of Death Forest wasn't hiding any, I guess you could say, surprises for me, but I didn't want to risk it knowing the mental and legal consequences if there was. Now, many YouTubers flock to cover Sad Satan, and even to this day, they still come back to talk about it. But what I haven't noticed is anyone talking about this, a more unknown dark web game that has appeared to be swept under the rug. It all started like any other night for me, if I'm being 100% honest. Staying up extremely late until I could barely hold my eyes open anymore, scrolling on YouTube. If I remember, I was looking at something rather innocent, like a historical documentary or just a commentary YouTuber talking over whatever was hot at the moment. That was when I noticed a weird but eye-grabbing video at the side of my recommended. Some YouTuber by the name of Lost Reality 999, with some supposed dark web game that I'd never heard of. The upload was 2 years ago as well and had barely any views. Alright, I thought, let's see this dark web horror game, I thought. I wasn't actually prepared for the rabbit hole I'd go down. Almost immediately after clicking on the video, the uploader makes it clear that this is a gore game from the dark web being passed around the internet, and that its name is Amnesis. Before going any further, I checked the description where it states, "Have you ever played Amnesis, a new game that is said to be the next Sad Satan, except worse? Here is a link to where I came across it. This Redditor has a full playthrough that is uncensored, and a link to download the game to play, and a link to a subreddit. We'll get to the subreddit later. I'm not going to show footage of this, even while yes, he's blurred parts of it. It's become apparent that his blurring abilities are quite unhelpful at times, and you can often see what he's trying to blur a split second before it's censored. As well as the fact that he's also left audio on, which he even states himself. So, while you won't see video, I will show stills of the gameplay. But, as always, let's get into it. Almost immediately, we see ourselves in some sort of hellish dungeon with a theme of butchery. You'll also notice these weird mannequins that appear to be covered in human skin and sort of act like weeping angels from Doctor Who, if you've watched that. We also quickly find out that the person you play as in this game is a woman by the poor text-to-speech dialogue. We also appear to have an assault rifle that resembles the AK-47, which can likely be used to gun down these grotesque amalgamations of the weeping angels. There's also this very unnerving wind-up box music present in the background of the game, always following the character. We also see some kind of pill container that appears to be able to be picked up, and not too long after the uploader does this, a news report flashes on the screen which reads as follows. Breaking news. The doll maker, aka the Butcher, finally apprehended. A man only known to law enforcement as the doll maker, or Butcher as the locals of the area like to call him, has finally been captured after a 10-year manhunt. The last 10 years, over 752 cemeteries across the region have been targeted, each scene leaving several graves dug up, what officers have dubbed as dolls left behind. These dolls are no toys. Instead, he would dig up graves and use the occupants' bodies and bones to stitch together life-size dolls which are dressed in clothing from said graves and left unseen. Not only were already deceased persons used, but many times missing persons would turn up as well, all cut up and stuffed with material and music boxes sewn inside. Over the years, no trail and connections have been made, leaving law enforcement baffled, that is, until recently when. That's when the end of the report cuts off, and we get flashed with a too graphic for YouTube message by the video uploader. Scrolling back, I saw a glimpse of the image that he tried censoring, and unfortunately, it appears to be a body that's been stuffed inside of an actual life-size doll. The other images aren't censored, but because I'm guessing the uploader determined they weren't gore or contained bodies within said dolls, but I'm not going to be taking chances with this one. And if I'm being honest, these are very unnerving images as well. Dolls in themselves, some of the ones you see on the internet, are horrifying, but the ones in this video are just distressing to look at. That's all I can really say. This information we get from the report gives us more context to the things that are following us in the game, as well as the music box in the background, which is sinister, to say the least. Although it does give us some questions. Are we an officer of sorts storming this killer's hideout to get more information? Or are we the killer ourselves in some kind of purgatory for our actions? We'll have to keep viewing the video. Finally, the music changes after reading the report to a calmer but more unsettling soundtrack, which I can only describe as a false promise of safety. The OP is then walking down several hallways, gunning down these dolls as they attack from everywhere. And they only attack him, of course, when he diverts his attention away from them. The OP eventually enters a room with several dolls and is met with a mat in front of him containing a pentagram. Then, I guess you could say, we meet the first boss of the game. A tall, muscular man with no skin on him whatsoever attacks the OP, and is all things considered a lot faster compared to the dolls, and has a very sinister laugh on him that follows as he attacks. Of course, you know, the OP does manage to take down the boss, and upon going to the area where he spawned in, the OP makes a discovery that in that area contains some sort of craft bench, which we do see a doll head sitting upon. So we can of course infer that the person that we just killed was the doll maker. That's good, but there's more to the game. The next room is just disturbing, being a pool of blood, and what appears to be bodies wrapped up and suspended in the air. Then out of nowhere, a scrawny voice just comes out, saying, "I told you he was nothing to play with," and a dialogue ensues between the character OP plays as in this voice. All we really get out of this is that the main character seems to know this voice, and the voice seems to be here to guide the character as we play. As the uploader comes across another pill container, another gore flash occurs, which of course is censored except for a split second at the start, showing what looks to be the beginning of a cartel video, although bloody. While, yes, the video is censored, the OP left the audio out for you to hear. Most of it you can just hear men talking in the background as loud music plays, which is unfortunately quite common for cartel videos to drown out the torture they're committing, and the occasional gag from the victim. And out of nowhere, it's hard to really explain what I heard, but I knew what it was. They definitely slit the man's throat. As you can hear his breathing change to where you could tell they had cut the windpipe, and he was wheezing as he was struggling. And then it's a very long scene as well. Of course you can't see it, but you can hear it. And eventually, of course, it ends and we're back in the game. As the OP continues walking, we hear the voice again say, "Watch your step," and then the main character falls down a hole into quite literally a pool of blood. And once again, we come across another pill container. This time, the uploader actually did a good job, and I couldn't see anything for a split second, although you can still hear it. It mainly just appears to be a voice repeating something in reverse. And of course, out of curiosity and for the sake of the video, I'm going to put this audio into Audacity and see what comes out of it when I reverse it to put it into its original state. Okay, so I have the audio right here. We'll just listen to it now, in reverse. So, if you can't see that already, it's reversed. And that's what you hear in the video. So what I'm going to do is go effect, and I'm going to go special, and I'm going to actually reverse it. So now I've reversed. You get the point. Basically, we're going to hear what it's actually saying now. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of nervous. Like, I know it's just a message, but I'm nervous. But you know what, let's just go in. All I'm really hearing is, "She suffered." So what I might do is, pitch and tempo. Now, starting pitch, I'm gonna make the pitch go up. That was not it.
Suicide, it is a major sin. Suicide, it is a major sin.
So sorry, it is a medicine. Right.
Suicide, it is a major sin.
Okay. So, they're saying, so sorry, it is a medicine. Well, I mean, we did just take that pill container, so that does kind of make sense, alright. So, from that little experiment, we can see that someone is apologizing for the medicine we are consuming. Now, as to why we need this medicine, given what it makes us see, I'm not too sure. Maybe we're unlocking memories of sorts. The next room is full of nooses, and we start to hear more noises in reverse. Luckily this time, the main character appears to ask this voice, which we now know is Twisty, what they are saying. Twisty simply says, they're calling you a sinner, but you already knew that. As the OP walks closer, he sees a photo on the ground, which then proceeds to flash an image of a pentagram on the screen. Now I can't confirm if this is blood, but it honestly does look like it. The connection with her being called a sinner and then the image of a pentagram does suggest my theory on it being some sort of purgatory. And given the context, it does seem to be quite plausible. There's another photo, although this one does get censored by the OP. There also appears to be a decal of an actual disemboweled body on the wall near the end of the hallway too, which I'll have to censor out. The music then shifts to something more sinister as the walls become painted in blood, claiming to what I think says, "He died, haha," followed by the decal of another disemboweled corpse on the ceiling, which I'll have to censor out. We also see other text saying, "It's your fault." This is when I notice the stuffed body from the beginning also being present on the ceiling. Then this text appears. "No, he's dead. He's effing dead. Why and how could have he done this to me, to himself? Why didn't he talk to me? It's all my fault for not being able to save him. Talk him out of it. He seems so happy with everything. Life, our work, every effing thing, and now he's gone. He's really gone. I don't know if I'll be able to do this without him. He's the only person I loved in this entire world, and now he's gone forever. I guess this is punishment for everything I've done. It should be me instead, whose brains were scattered everywhere. Where is the effing devil when you need him?" This only opens more questions as to what's going on. Her connections with Satanism, and what is likely a punishment for having so in this twisted universe of a game. It also makes me wonder why he took his own life, and why whoever this is taunting her over it, if it's her fault. Nevertheless, let's keep viewing. We don't have much left. The OP walks to a dead end that is simply a message written as "kill yourself," and what looks like the decal of someone's blasted head on the ceiling, which is definitely referencing what I'm guessing is her husband. The main character says, "He died, kill yourself," clearly reading what was on the wall, followed by, "Why is my mind doing this? I don't want to think about this." OP then finds one more photo, which is also censored without leaving anything for a split second. This is where the video ends. So, there's a lot to unpack here. I mean a lot. Other than the fact that there's so much blatant gore present in this game, and there's also some sort of story. Clearly whoever we play as is trapped in some sort of purgatory for our actions. We can infer this with the, "I guess this is punishment for everything I've done." I also find it interesting that the upload has no issue with people asking for a part 2 to the game, as well as providing a way to access the game yourself. Before we look into that, Lost Reality 999 did actually end up making a part 2, although it's just a replay of where he got up to. Now surely someone else has played this and talked about it, right? Well, someone else has. Just to make things clear, I'm not going to be providing a name for this individual simply because of what the video contained. Not video-wise, but audio-wise. I'm doing this for your own mental sanity, and I'll explain why when I get to that part of the video. I'm honestly quite shaken by what I heard. Nevertheless, let's get into detail on what this upload contained. The video starts off quite similar, with the very similar intro text to the last uploader we looked at, which makes me believe that this was created by Lost Reality 999 on a separate account. This time we're greeted with what looks to be a title screen to the actual game, and to say the least it's disturbing. Of course we see the title in the background as well as an owl that has completely pitch black eyes with ravens sprouting out from it. We also notice a few symbols as well as what looks like a noose in the background. We also see a black hand around the bottom left of the screen as well as who we come to find out to be Twisty hiding behind the TV. Yes, he looks like that. There's also a small pill container on the desk that holds the TV, likely referencing the mentality of the main character. I think the most disturbing part of this title screen is the eyes that watch you at the top. It's like they know what you're getting into and have full intent on watching you suffer as you play it. Sorry about my little mistake I made there. Stutter, I mean. We finally also get an idea as to who made the game, given that at the bottom we see EG and Missing Games. EG is definitely the person behind it, and Missing Games is likely their dev group. I tried searching up for them but got no results. As for now, we must see the uploader hit play. We are immediately sent into an intro scene of a girl writing a letter, who we find out the main character we play as is named Samantha Blackwell. As she writes the letter, we find out she's going to end her own life. She claims that she was born with the devil inside of her, which then proceeds to flash several satanic images. We also see a few censored photos as well as a suicide via hanging that wasn't censored at the start. She also mentions a group called BOA, and that they've done too much. We then hear what sounds like a generic choking noise to, I guess, show that she strangled herself to death, followed by a hellish tunnel flashing with gore that is censored. We spawn in what looks like an attic with a hole around one of the corners allowing us to drop down. We get to meet Twisty when we drop down as he explains you're here to collect memories of the things that you've done. He also gives a brief rundown on how to collect such memories. We then get a screen giving us some information. We already understood what the pictures were, but we finally get a context on what the pills are for, which are actually to keep our sanity up, giving us an idea that Samantha is mentally unwell. To be honest, we already knew that given what's in the game and to come. There's ammo boxes which can be picked up to shoot down enemies, as well as pentagrams to stand on to regain health, followed by a sentence I refuse to say out loud. Other pictures are just extra controls and other instructions on how to play. We finally get our first piece of context with a note that says, "It's hard losing most of your childhood memories. For the most part, everything is a blur. I can only remember my name and small snippets before I was placed into foster care. I have no one to turn to for answers. Once I left the foster home, everything completely went downhill. My desires and untamable fantasies have taken me further into this downward spiral of violence and sickness. It almost seems unreal. I'm not sure where it all stems from, but I feel this darkness so deep in my core, like it's from a past life or just been a part of me altogether since birth." We also see some kind of wicked grin drawn on the page, followed by a 666. As we move down further, we find more memories that are gore that is cut out by the uploader. We also get a new note with the black hand attached. It reads as follows: "It's crazy to look back on joining a cartel as an assassin at such a young age. Before that, I roamed the streets doing small-time killing for the fun of it, but while on the run, LF, La Familia, really gave me a purpose. A new identity and a place among like-minded individuals, even though the entry was extreme. Terrorist, and if you die, you die. If not, you carry the spear, the mark of loyalty to La Familia. In the end, it was all worth it, and once I moved up in the ranks, I was even given my own faction to lead. When that happened, I really felt like I found my place in the world. I was able to bring my brother along too, which made me feel even more at home." With that, we have some insight that Samantha had associated herself with the cartel, even becoming a high-ranking member above them. And I believe that handprint is the symbol of La Familia. Moving on, we come across the first enemy, a man standing in a corner in a hospital gown laughing. He then lunges with a cross out screaming, "She's not a Christian." These repeated cases of praise for the devil and the betrayal of Christians in this game really makes me wonder the personal ideologies of the person who created this. I'll talk about this later. As we walk through the hallway, we get another note. It reads as follows: "This is weird to me. Almost as soon as I got approached by a random unknown organization for recruitment and refused. Our own cartel got hit by quite a few US agencies within the government and now we are disbanded. Only a few of us survived, including my brother, followed by a statement I refuse to say out loud. I don't know how... I don't know what I would do if I lost him forever. It really... Sorry, I'm still stuttering a little bit from what I saw. Well, not saw, but heard. He really thinks he should... Sorry. He really thinks we should join up with that organization, though. Obsidian Abs, Blackbirds... Sounds like some sort of Black Ops group. I'm not so sure myself, but all I know is if he's going, I'm going. He's the only person in this world I would follow to the depths of hell and give my life for. Now, this gives us more context from the previous video. This wasn't some lover of hers, but her brother who she cares very dearly about, which is apparent in this note. Nevertheless, we must continue. We then walk into what looks like a torture chamber with Samantha saying, "My workroom." We come across another note that reads as follows. So, we did it. We joined them. This group is so crazy, I had no idea anything like this even existed among us. I don't think anyone could have truly guessed all of it. This isn't some Illuminati crap people talk about. This is so different, so much more deeper and sinister. The OA literally have their hand in everything and everywhere. From the highest form of government all the way down to the most globally and even most popular serial killers you've ever heard of. We're part of it. Drugs, money, murder, kidnapping, dark web business, politics, legit, and underground companies and businesses, law enforcement, and the list goes on. Pretty much anything and anywhere you can think of, you can be sure to find the OA. It's crazy. After getting tatted with the mark, you are in for life, like most organizations of this nature. But is business as usual. Me and my brother do what we do, well, so I know, in no time, we shall rise the ranks once again, and no one will be able to stop us. Followed by a statement I refuse to say out loud. We now know that Samantha is also part of some sort of highly secretive organization on Earth, that's intentions are only to fuel one's most violent desires as shown by the upper text. Nevertheless, we must carry on. We then get flashed with an image that says, "I love my job," which is followed by Samantha repeating the same remark. She then goes over how red rooms are real and how there's a massive market for online snuff films. I want to point out how these drawings and images are very similar to how the person who uploaded the first video we saw drew the sensors. This will be important later. Other than that, we get an explanation over what the owls are about with showing the obsidian abs. We can infer that the owl is the symbol of this organization. We then get a very poorly but put together mock torture audio that mainly comprises of Samantha's voice and stock screaming from some free audio website, I'm assuming, followed by a censored image, which I'm assuming is the aftermath of a torture. We then go into what looks like a ritual room with a note that reads as follows. Ever since I sold my soul when I was younger, I have debated what is real or fake. Is the friend the devil sent me out a product of my imagination, or is Twisty actually real and following me? What about the other demons who have visited me? The things that have happened during my rituals? All the crazy supernatural stuff I cannot explain. Is that all real too, or am I just too far gone mentally? I cannot tell. I had no one when I left this foster home. All I had was Twisty guiding me, and that was what kept me alive and able to survive all this time. So no matter how real it actually is or not, I still give thanks to someone I'm not gonna say out loud, and worship him wherever I can. Leave sacrifices wherever I can. I'm not gonna say that out loud. Wherever I can. I am grateful of everything. Once I die, I'll know the truth when I'm either left in blackness or taken down below. We get more information on the mind of Samantha and what she stands for and how she received her devotion for Satan in the first place. Nevertheless, we must continue onward. As we go upstairs, we see a similar environment with the hanging bodies wrapped up on the ceiling. Samantha inquires what it is, and Twisty makes the remark that this is the room of the butcher, and it's a good thing he isn't here with us. We then find another note that reads as follows. I met a boy while scouring abandoned buildings for shelter. He's about my age too, and he's been living on the streets for quite some time. We're starting to grow close, and it's almost as if we were meant to find one another. Not only for survival, but maybe to have at least one friend each of us can trust in this messed up world. Before him, the only ones I could call my friends, in quotations, were the devil, the voices in my head, and my imaginary friend Twisty. Man, I'm so messed up inside. This makes me more confused as to who she took her life for. Was it for her brother or for her lover? I honestly can't tell at this point. Nevertheless, we must continue. When we walk upstairs into what looks like an old house, and the music becomes calm. It's unnerving. Samantha then comments, "This is the first place I ever lived in by myself." This is one of Samantha's memories. Twisty then follows up with, "Yeah, this is the first time you kidnapped and killed them too." We then pick up another note which reads as follows. "We found a permanent solution to our shelter problem. A nice secluded home with only a single woman living there. It was perfect. That machete we brought along really came in handy to rid our guest of her burden. I mean, I'm sure she was lonely out there and it was hard to maintain it all by herself. We needed it more than her, and I'm sure she's in a better place anyway. Or so the Bible by her bed always told her. P.S. Her grandchildren were visiting, but oh well, ha. We then hear crying in the background of the game. Soon enough, we come to walk into what looks like a basement door with Twisty commenting, "Remember how you kept your victims down here?" Now, I need to make something very clear. I'm about to explain something very disturbing and disgusting, and something that made me sick to my core. It's hard to really explain it without being demonetized, and I implore you that if you don't take... Sorry, I'm honestly sorry, I'm still shaken up by this. I know it's hard to tell, but inside I just don't know. But if you can't take some information, well, please skip to the timestamp on screen. I'm being 200% serious about this. I know I often make jokes in my other videos, but this honestly shook me, because of how messed up it is. I'll give you a few more seconds to skip before I continue. Alright, for those who stuck around, let's get into it. The uploader has cut out the audio, sorry, not the audio, the video itself, but left the audio in. We hear what I can only describe as a woman and a child crying. There are clear signs of physical harm throughout the audio, not only from the woman but the child, as we hear other noises within the audio which I don't want to describe. We even hear a man mumbling something in the background, confirming that someone is taking out these actions. I couldn't quite make out what he was saying, but if I'm being honest, I don't want to roll back the audio to hear it again. This goes on for a while, leaving you in utter shock as you listen to it. It just seems like it goes on forever. By the time it finishes, so does the uploader. I'm guessing he didn't really want to play it afterwards either. I was honestly left speechless and even reconsidered making this video altogether, knowing what could possibly be behind it. That cut video. I was even planning on playing the game myself to get a raw reaction till I realized what I could be stumbling upon. This is what I meant when I said I wouldn't provide a link or name to the second video. Now, for those who skipped, just know there's a reason why I didn't provide a link or name to the video. Those who stuck around now know. Unfortunately, this isn't where the rabbit hole ends. We now find ourselves on the subreddit that I mentioned earlier. There aren't many members, and they seem to be more confused than I am as to what this game is. One post that immediately caught my eye was this. Where is the photo of Samantha Blackwell from? It might lead to where this game is from. Now, immediately I come to think, there's a photo of this girl. There was only one reply to the thread, which stated, I never really looked into it, but possibly I know that a lot of the stuff within the game I have looked up or recognized is linked to true crime and other real life cases. Kind of like a bunch of Easter eggs, so it could be from something similar. The next post gives more clarification on the game made by the same guy we just saw comment from the earlier question. It appears that he runs the subreddit and claims that there's no illegal material within the game, but as it turns out, this could be a stretch. We also get clarification on the gore, that they are representations of the crimes that Samantha has committed, but to be fair, we could have probably already inferred that given what we already knew about her. Scrolling down, we finally get an image of Samantha. No one seems to really know who she is. Reverse image searching yields no results. I do have a theory that the face of this woman is likely a result of thispersondoesnotexist.com, an algorithm that puts facial features together to create people who, well, don't exist. I think whoever made this game used this website to get an image of a random woman to use as Samantha. Well, I hope that's the case. Moving on, someone else on the subreddit asked how old the game was. The subreddit creator mentioned that it got passed around in a group chat supposedly, and that he didn't really have much of an idea as to when it could have been created. I was honestly thinking of messaging the creator of the subreddit, but it doesn't seem like he's been active on Reddit anymore. Or at least on that account, given his last post was over a year ago. While reading the comments, I kept thinking about that audio I heard from the video. I was concerned as to what was behind that censor. Unfortunately, as it seems, my worst concerns were very possibly real. I scrolled down to see the gameplays. I didn't watch them, but I was looking towards the comments and scrolling through them. One of them had around 16 comments, so I figured if there's that many, it might be referring to that audio, and it seems that I was correct. When I went to the comments to see what people were thinking of, well, it was exactly what I thought it was, and I'm gonna leave a screenshot as to what was the description of it. You can skip to the timestamp on screen if you don't want to read it. Okay, well, there's been a few seconds, so I'm just gonna bump it up now for a couple seconds. You can pause and read. Now, one other person did claim that supposedly they had seen this video from some fetish video, and that the woman in the clip was supposedly 18, but something just doesn't seem right about it. And the OP is very, well, I guess the creator of the subreddit is very persistent that there is nothing illegal in the game whatsoever. But just given by the general controversy that I had noticed from the comments section about it, it really does make me think as to whether or not it actually was. And I'm not one to assume, but if the OP hasn't uploaded in a while, could there have been something on there? And is that why he isn't talking? I'm sure it's not likely that, and that maybe he just got bored and stopped talking on there. But something just still isn't sitting right with me. That's all I can really say. Well, if you skipped ahead, well, we just had a big talk about it. And it was a big debate as to whether or not what that clip was actually abuse material or not. But we're just gonna move on to the final theories and ending part of this documentary. As for the final theories of the game, as well as the creator and their mindset, I have two. My first one is that the Lost Reality 999 account and the other one that I won't name are run by the same individual, given the similar fonts and talking styles in their intro. But my theory doesn't end there. I think the person who ran these channels is also the creator of the game. This is a stretch, but I believe so because of this censor that the Lost Reality channel used. Their style is very on par with the art and drawing shown in the game, which makes me believe that this is them making these gameplays. Now, as for the mindset of the creator and the reason why they made this, while it's a bump up from Sad Satan, because, you know, it has an actual story to it, I still see it as something created by some edgelord that wanted to traumatize some people by using real gore of people who had died and possibly even abuse material just to show off some supposed story. I personally think that all downloads to this game should be removed, and that possibly even law enforcement should take a look into the game to confirm whether or not that audio was abuse material. As for things, I think this is the end of the documentary. Now look, the internet can be a scary place, so can the real world. This might sound a bit awkward to add in the end of a video, but when I started looking into God more and more in his teachings, there was one phrase that always stood out to me the most and helped me through times where I struggled a lot. And as simple as it was this.